So how goes the battle, Parker?
Oh, we're just getting going. I actually wanted to talk to you about our plans this season. These increasing royalty rates just are killing us.
The unbreakable bond of the Beets family has been shattered into a million pieces. Kevin Beets just did the one thing his father Tony could never forgive. He's now working for Parker Schnabel. You see, this is more than just switching teams. This is a calculated move that involves a secret deal, a hidden claim, and a plan to dethrone the king of the Klondike. But not all things are what they seem. The details of their partnership are so shocking, you won't believe what Parker offered him to walk away from his own family forever. A new king in the north. In the high-stakes world of Yukon gold mining, where a single ounce of gold is worth nearly $2,000, loyalty is the most valuable currency. For decades, Tony Beets, the self-styled Viking, built his empire on this principle.
Right now, I think that this gold price is off today. Now is the time to get excited. Before I turn 65, I'm planning on making that my biggest season ever. Make some real money.
His family was his fortress, his children the loyal lieutenants in his relentless war on the permafrost. But on a Tuesday morning, that fortress crumbled. The news spread like wildfire. Kevin Beets, Tony's eldest son and heir apparent, had officially walked off the Beets claim and joined Parker Schnabel's crew. This wasn't just an employee quitting, it was a prince abandoning his kingdom for the enemy. What many overlooked is that this wasn't a sudden decision, but the final eruption of a volcano that had been rumbling for years. The scene of the betrayal was, to put it mildly, dramatic. Kevin was seen driving his truck onto Parker's Scribner Creek claim, not for a confrontation, but for a handshake. Parker, who had a notoriously tense and competitive relationship with Tony, greeted him not as a rival, but as a partner. Onlookers were stunned.
What are you guys up to?
Well, we have a dozer without a ripper shank, so hopefully you have one you're willing to part with.
The Beets and Schnabel crews had been locked in a bitter rivalry, competing for land, resources, and the title of top dog. For Kevin to cross that line was unthinkable. It was the equivalent of a top general defecting to the enemy in the middle of a war. The most shocking fact is how meticulously it was planned. Sources say Kevin and Parker had been in secret talks for weeks, hashing out a deal that would give Kevin something his own father never would: creative control and a real stake in the profits. Tony Beets' reaction was as explosive as everyone expected. When word reached him, operations at his Tamarack claim ground to a halt. His trademark roar echoed across the valley, a mix of fury and disbelief. For Tony, this was the ultimate act of disrespect. He had taught Kevin everything he knew, from operating the monstrous 75-year-old dredges that weigh over 1,000 tons to reading the lay of the land. He had handed him responsibility, putting him in charge of crews since he was a teenager.
So what do you think? You think you do it in a week? Otherwise, we'll have to blame you for that.
Assuming nothing goes sideways.
Hey, you're in charge. You got to figure out all the... It's going to be your circus.
See.
Okay, let's do it.
In Tony's mind, he had given his son the keys to a kingdom worth tens of millions. And in return, his son had thrown them back in his face to go work for a kid who Tony believed still had much to learn. The thing nobody tells you is that for all his tough talk, the betrayal cut Tony deeper than any financial loss ever could. He saw it as a personal failure, a crack in the legacy he had worked his entire life to build. The rest of the Beets family was caught in the crossfire. Monica and Mike, Kevin's siblings, were left to pick up the pieces, torn between their loyalty to their father and their love for their brother. The atmosphere on the Beets compound became thick with tension, the once boisterous family dinners replaced by a heavy silence. Meanwhile, on Parker's claim, the mood was electric. Bringing Kevin on board was a strategic masterstroke.
I got big plans to set up a gold mine and run it my way. We do have a 1,000-ounce goal. This is a big gamble, so me and Faith have to make this work.
Kevin wasn't just another miner. He was a mechanical genius, a skilled foreman, and he possessed intimate knowledge of Tony's operations, his strengths, and more importantly, his weaknesses. Parker, always looking for an edge, knew that Kevin's expertise could potentially double his output. Parker's crew, while initially wary of welcoming a Beets, quickly saw the value he brought. He immediately identified inefficiencies in their wash plant, Big Red, and suggested modifications that could increase gold recovery by up to 15%. For Parker, who had clawed his way to the top through data-driven decisions and relentless ambition, this alliance was a game changer. It wasn't just about the gold, it was about sending a message to Tony Beets. The old guard was officially being challenged. But what really led to this earth-shattering moment? Old ways versus new blood. You can see this everywhere. A powerful father, a determined son, and a clash of wills that was destined to boil over. The partnership between Kevin and Parker didn't happen overnight. It was the result of years of simmering frustration and fundamental disagreements about the future of gold mining. To understand the betrayal, you have to understand the deep philosophical divide between Kevin and Tony Beets. Tony is a relic of a bygone era. He believes in brute force, massive machinery, and an if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality. His prized possessions are his ancient dredges, colossal floating factories that chew through the earth. He trusts his gut and decades of experience over any computer model or newfangled gadget. He's a titan of industry, but one who is deeply resistant to change. Many people are crazy about his old-school charm, but for someone working under him, it could be maddening. Kevin, on the other hand, represents the new age of mining. With a university degree in computer science and leadership, he saw a world of opportunity in technology and efficiency.
It is incredibly too hot for this hot metal bull. Ow, 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 ow.
He constantly pushed for upgrades, from GPS-guided dozers that could map out a cut with pinpoint accuracy to advanced sensor systems in the wash plants to optimize water flow and gold recovery. He would present his father with data-backed proposals showing how a $200,000 investment in new tech could yield an extra $1 million in gold by the end of the season. But Tony would often dismiss these ideas with a wave of his hand, preferring to stick with the methods that had always worked for him. One legendary argument, which never aired, was reportedly over Tony's refusal to invest in drone survey technology, a tool Parker had been using for years to identify the most promising pay dirt. Tony allegedly told Kevin, "I don't need a toy airplane to tell me where the gold is." For Kevin, this wasn't just about being ignored. It was about watching the competition, namely Parker, pull ahead by embracing the very innovations his father scorned. The financial arrangement was another major point of contention. While Kevin held a position of immense responsibility, he was still fundamentally an employee. He worked grueling 100-hour weeks, managed multi-million-dollar operations, and his mechanical skills often saved the family hundreds of thousands in repair costs. Yet, he was on a salary. He watched as Parker Schnabel, who was years younger, reinvested his profits, bought his own land, and became the master of his own destiny. Kevin wanted a partnership, a true stake in the family business that reflected his contribution. He wanted to be more than just Tony's son. He wanted to be an owner. This desire for autonomy was a constant source of friction. The more success Kevin had running his own sections of the mine, the more he yearned for the freedom to make his own calls, take his own risks, and reap his own rewards. But for a patriarch like Tony, letting go of control is the hardest thing in the world.
We really want to do something different than Tony. We don't want to be as chaotic. We want to do it once and do it right and just be done with it. Sounds like Rick and Hunter had an eventful night. So it is good that they were able to deal with it on their own. So yeah, I think a good first night, and here's to many more, I hope.
He saw Kevin's ambition not as a healthy drive, but as impatience and a lack of respect for the hierarchy he had established. The power struggle was real and relentless, creating a rift that grew wider with each passing season. The thing nobody tells you is that the personal dynamic was just as strained. Tony's management style is famously harsh. He pushes his crew, and especially his children, to their absolute limits. While this method forged them into tough and capable miners, it also took a toll. Kevin, now a man in his 30s, grew tired of being treated like the teenage apprentice he once was. He wanted his ideas to be debated, not dismissed, and his experience to be respected, not taken for granted. He saw how Parker ran his crew as a team of professionals with specialized roles. Parker listened to his lieutenants. Tony gave orders. This fundamental difference in leadership was the final wedge that drove them apart. Kevin realized he would never be seen as an equal in his father's eyes. To truly prove his own worth, He had to step out of that colossal shadow, even if it meant walking into the camp of his family's greatest rival. This set the stage for a new and dangerous alliance, forging a new empire. When Kevin Beets joined Parker Schnabel's crew, it was more than just a new hire. It was the formation of a super team. The partnership was a perfect fusion of old-school grit and new-school genius. Kevin brought with him a lifetime of hands-on mechanical knowledge, an innate understanding of the Klondike ground, and an insider's perspective on how to beat his father. Parker, in turn, offered Kevin what he craved most: respect, resources, and the freedom to innovate.
Those are 11 grand.
11 grand is a good deal for that one.
You don't need to pay for anything now. You start a tab.
Really do.
I'm more than happy. I know how hard it is when you're first starting out.
That's awesome.
You owe me a hug.
Yeah, for sure, buddy. Nice seeing you again.
It's been too long.
It has been, buddy.
What many overlooked was that their skills were perfectly complementary. Parker was the master strategist, the data analyst who could look at survey results and map out the most efficient path to the gold. Kevin was the tactical genius on the ground, the one who could make the machines run faster, harder, and longer than anyone else. Their first project together was a massive gamble. Parker had a section of his claim that was notoriously difficult to mine. The pay dirt was deep, buried under 30 feet of frozen mud and rock.
Based on what drill holes that Tony had and the little bit of poking around I did, 15, 20 feet of muck on top.
And his team had struggled to make it profitable. Tony Beets had even publicly mocked Parker's attempt to work that ground, calling it a fool's errand. This is where Kevin's value became immediately apparent. He redesigned the entire approach. Instead of trying to strip the ground with dozers alone, he devised a new water-thawing system using high-pressure injectors that could soften the permafrost at a rate 3 times faster than Parker's previous method. It was a technique he had wanted to try on his father's claim for years, but was never given the green light. Furthermore, he took one look at Parker's wash plant and, within 48 hours, had welded and fabricated a new set of custom grizzly bars, allowing them to process larger rocks without constant jams, dramatically increasing their yards per hour count. The results were staggering. In their first week working together, they pulled in over 300 ounces of gold from the unminable ground, a haul worth well over $500,000. It was a massive victory that served 2 purposes. It was immensely profitable, and it was a direct shot at Tony. You see, this wasn't just about making money anymore. It was about proving a point. Parker, who had long been dismissed by Tony as an inexperienced upstart, was now armed with a Beets who could outmine a Beets. The most shocking fact is that their success seemed to fuel them. They were a perfect storm of ambition. Kevin, finally unleashed from his father's constraints, was a whirlwind of ideas and energy. Parker, seeing the validation of his trust in Kevin, pushed the operation into overdrive. They set a season goal that was previously unthinkable: 10,000 ounces of gold, a figure that would not only shatter Parker's own records, but would also eclipse Tony's best-ever season. This new power dynamic sent tremors through the entire Yukon mining community. Other mine bosses watched with a mix of awe and fear. The Schnabel-Beets alliance was a force to be reckoned with. They were outworking, outthinking, and outproducing everyone around them. The thing nobody tells you is that their partnership also changed the culture on Parker's crew. Kevin's no-nonsense, led-by-example style earned him the respect of Parker's veteran miners. He wasn't just a boss. He was in the trenches with them, covered in grease and mud, troubleshooting a broken conveyor at 3 in the morning. He brought a level of intensity that matched Parker's own, creating an operation that ran with ruthless efficiency 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It was a gold mining machine, and at its heart were 2 young, brilliant, and incredibly driven men who both had something to prove to the old Viking watching from across the valley. But as their gold totals climbed, so did the stakes of the family feud. The success of Kevin and Parker's partnership came at a steep personal cost. The fallout for the Beets family was immense and heartbreaking. The once tight-knit clan was fractured, possibly beyond repair. Tony, publicly, put on a brave face, scoffing at the new alliance and vowing to beat their gold total. He pushed his remaining crew, including his children Mike and Monica, harder than ever before, trying to fill the massive void Kevin had left. But privately, the strain was showing. The Beets operation, which had relied so heavily on Kevin's mechanical wizardry, began to suffer. Equipment breakdowns that Kevin would have fixed in hours now took days, costing them precious time and money during the short mining season. And you can see this everywhere. a leader trying to project strength while dealing with a wound that won't heal. The tension between pride and pain was etched on Tony's face. So, what do you think? Was Kevin a traitor for leaving his family, or was he a visionary for chasing his own dream? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.